here we are, the final part of season 2. Are you excited? Because I'm excited. This is it. This is the end, okay? If you somehow missed all of the other parts leading up to this, there are links in the description. I'll catch up on season 1 and the other parts of season 2. Now, without further ado, may I present to you Arrow season 2 finale recap. All right, episode 18. Deathstroke. We start where we last left off, with Thea getting into Slade Wilson's car. Everything is normal, everything is fine. Slade is driving Thea home. She's crying, alright, because she's distraught about Roy, because Roy just broke up with her. Slade's like, yeah, I know about heartbreak, alright, and sometimes you just never get over it. And this is when Thea realizes that she's not going home, okay? He's taken her in a different direction. And she starts to freak out. Thea bolts. She runs, but who does she run into? The man in the skull mask. Title screen. We're in the Arrow Cave, and we're watching Roy. He's trying to shoot a bow and arrow. He sucks at it, okay? We also learned that Iron Heights Prison, it's at full capacity, okay? Because Oliver stopped killing people, so the Arrow's prisoners are now, like, completely filling up Iron Heights Prison, so they're gonna have to, like, do a prison transfer, which is important for later. We learn that there's a Queen Consolidated board meeting that is about to happen, because remember, Oliver Queen is the CEO of Queen Consolidated, so he has to go to this board meeting. Very important, cannot miss board meeting. On the island, Sarah, Anatoly, and the preacher, as well as some other miscellaneous background actors, they're discussing how fucked up it is that they're planning on turning Hendrik over to Slade. Sarah's like, well, what if this is actually an opportunity to kill Slade? We're at Queen Consolidated. Oliver goes up to Isabel. Remember Isabel Rochev? It's been a hot minute since we talked about her, okay? She is famously also the CEO of Queen Consolidated, alright? So Oliver goes up to Isabel, and he's like, thanks for keeping this company running while I was, not here, not helping you. And she's pissed off at him. She's like, you better be at that fucking board meeting tomorrow, okay? And then Moira shows up, and Oliver goes to talk to Moira, and, she's like, have you seen Thea? And Oliver's like, no, I have not. And then she's like, are you coming to my debate tonight? Okay, because there's a debate between Moira and Sebastian Blood happening because, remember the mayor shit? Oliver's like, yeah, I told you I would publicly support your campaign, so I will go to your debate. And then he says this line, I've gotten really good at pretending to be someone I'm not. I learned that from you. You know what that reminds me of? That scene between Tommy and Malcolm in season 1. You know, that one that lives rent-free in my fucking head? You taught me that. Multiple times. Now we're at the mayoral debate. Oliver goes up to Sebastian at the debate, and he says, I can't find Thea. And Sebastian's like, ooh, that might be my fault. Traffic's really backed up because I'm so popular. Everybody's like, the traffic is really bad. And then Laurel shows up, and Laurel goes to apologize to Sebastian, okay? Because Laurel has gotten over herself. She's realized that she's wrong. She's sober now, and she's like, I'm sorry I accused you of murdering your parents. And Sebastian is like, oh, it's all good, Laurel. During the debate, it's going as well as debates usually go. They take video questions from the citizens, okay? And our first question comes from Thea Queen. What? This can't be right, and it's not right, because she's been kidnapped by Deathstroke. Okay, so a ransom video starts playing. Frank, the cop, because the other two are dead, Frank is back, and he goes to talk to Moira, and he's like, Moira, is there anybody out there in the world that could possibly have it out for you or Thea? Is there anybody who would have any reason to want to kidnap your daughter? Whenever somebody mentions Malcolm Merlyn, it's like, speak of the devil. And what does he do? Oliver goes to talk to Isabel. And Isabel's like, listen, I know your sister was just kidnapped and that's probably really hard for you, but you still have to go to the board meeting. He makes Isabel Rochev the temporary CEO. Like, he makes her the full CEO. He signs away his rights as the CEO to her temporarily so that he doesn't have to go to this fuck-ass board meeting. Back on the island, Sarah and Anatoly are having a conversation, and Sarah's like, hey, Anatoly, can you rig Hendrik into a bomb so that once Slade takes Hendrik onto the ship, Hendrik blows up and then kills Slade? Can you do that? And Anatoly's like, yeah. Team Arrow finds Slade, and they bring him in and arrest him. Lance arrests Slade. Frank goes up to to Lance, and he's like, what the fuck is your problem? Why'd you arrest this Slade Wilson guy? He's been in Costa Rica for the past 72 hours. There's no way that Slade Wilson kidnapped Thea, okay? And Lance is like, well, the vigilante told me that it was Slade, and I trust the vigilante. And Frank is like, you know what happened the last time you were working with the vigilante? You know what fucking happened the last time? Oliver takes this opportunity to go talk to Slade because Slade Wilson is cuffed in the interrogation room. So Oliver goes in there and he's like, Slade, why? What? How? Give me the details, okay? And Slade Wilson starts divulging into some of his dramatic backstory. Slade Wilson reveals that every bone in his body shattered when he hit the water. Oh, what's that? Oh, that's a different Arrow villain. Slade Wilson reveals that he swam all the way back from the island to the shore, and as he went, the coral from the reef was like scraping at his flesh, and the Maracuru just kept regenerating him. Scratch that thing about the bones shattering. That's not important yet. Oliver then asks Slade, why are you doing this? And Slade says, you know why. And that made me laugh because, yeah, why would you ask that, Oliver? You know why.
You know why. It was 5 years ago. It was yesterday.
It was yesterday. That's not. It was yesterday. I can't do the voice. Why can't I do the voice? I can't do the voice. Why? I can't do the voice. I can't do shit today, okay? My makeup is melting off. I can't do the voice. I'm a shell of my former self. Before Slade can tell Oliver where Thea is, the cops come in and they unarrest him and then they apologize and Slade's like, don't worry, I'm not gonna press charges. I don't hold a grudge.
I'm not one to hold a grudge.
At least he's funny. Once Slade leaves the police department, the rest of Team Arrow tries to follow him. They try to catch him, but he gets away. And then we get the best line delivery ever from John Diggle, where he says in the driest, most unenthused voice he possibly can, dang it, we lost him. John, did you even care? Slade Wilson goes to where he's keeping Thea, and he walks up to her, and he's like, you can go. Okay? You can leave. But if you want to stay, I have a little secret to tell you about your brother. Tensions in the Arrow Cave are at an all-time high. Roy is pissed the fuck off. He's like, oh, we can't do anything without King Queen's permission, okay? And King Queen, direct quote, Roy, not happy. If you're gonna watch any episode of Arrow, like if you're just gonna watch one episode, this one, okay? Make it episode 18. This is essential viewing. Oliver and Moira share a scene. They're both upset that Thea is kidnapped, and Moira starts monologuing about how much she lies and how bad she feels about it. She doesn't actually tell any truths in this scene, but Oliver forgives her anyway, and now they're on good terms again. So we're back on the island. Slade brings Oliver to the plane to trade Oliver for Hendrik. Slade has heightened senses because of the Maracuru, so he can smell the TNT. Slade pulls a gun on Sarah, Oliver runs in between Sarah and the gun, and then Slade starts hallucinating Shadow, and Hallucination Shadow tells Slade to kill. In the Arrow Cave, tensions are even higher if you could believe that, okay? Roy is not feeling this. And then Roy's like, I've had it, okay? I'm done. And he leaves. So Oliver goes to talk to Isabel, okay? And it turns out she pulled a fast one on him, okay? When he assigned her temporary CEO-ship, she was able to turn that around and get the board of directors to vote her into being the full CEO. So now Oliver Queen, not the CEO of Queen Consolidated anymore, I'm afraid. ASMR. The only CEO of QC is now Isabel Rochev, okay? But why? Because she's working for Slade Wilson! And then she also tells him where to find Thea. When Oliver gets to the location that Isabel gave him, nobody's there. Thea's not there. Meanwhile, Slade murders 3 cops and frees an entire bus of prisoners, okay? Remember the prison transfer? They're out, okay? And Slade's got them. Thea returns to the police station, okay? She tells the cops that Slade was the one who captured her, and then she also goes up to Moira and Oliver, and she says, Slade Wilson told me your secret. How could you not tell me that Malcolm Merlyn is my father? On the island, Slade leaves everyone for dead, and he says he's gonna fix the boat and he's gonna leave. Okay, that's Slade's new plan. Roy drives away from the city. Frank goes up to Lance, and he's like, okay, you're working with the vigilante again, tell me who he is, okay? And Lance is like, I don't know who the vigilante is. And Frank's like, so sad, then you're under arrest. So now we get a scene between Slade, Sebastian, and Isabel Rochev, okay? They are all in cahoots. And Isabel reveals that the Applied Sciences section of Queen Consolidated is now fully focused on replicating the Marakuru serum. And we see Oliver, Felicity, and Diggle have a big old bro moment where the three of them agree to push onwards, okay? It started with the three of them, and it's gonna end with the three of them. The final scene of this episode, absolute doozy. Slade goes to Laurel's apartment, and he tells her that Oliver Queen is the Arrow, and then he leaves, and she's just standing there like... At the end of episode 18, Oliver gave 7 dramatic speeches, 6 smart remarks, 31 dramatic pauses. I laughed at him 7 times, and he killed 2 people. The most dramatic pauses goes to Slade with 35. I also laughed at Slade the most. I laughed at him 10 times, and he killed 3 people. He tied Oliver with 6 smart remarks, but the person who had the most smart remarks was absolutely Roy. He had 8 of them. And the most dramatic speeches goes to Slade as well, with a whopping 9 dramatic speeches. Episode 19, The Man Under the Hood. Oliver, Diggle, Felicity, and Sarah. They break into Queen Consolidated's Applied Sciences division using the skeleton key from before. They blow up Queen Consolidated's Applied Sciences division. This was Felicity's idea. Also during the scene, Felicity brings up Barry Allen. Okay, because who could forget about Barry Allen? Title screen. Team Arrow discussed the fact that they just blew up Queen Consolidated's Applied Sciences division, and they all agree that this should set Slade back because now he doesn't have what he needs to make the Marakuru. Laurel, okay, she's in her apartment. She has a murder board, quite similar to this one. It's got news articles about the vigilante. It's got pictures of Oliver on it. She's trying to connect the dots because Slade Wilson just told her that Oliver is the Arrow, and she's not really fully buying it, okay? So she needs to sleuth this one out for herself. So she goes to the prison where Lance is because Lance has been arrested, remember? Of course you remember, I just said it. So Laurel goes to talk to her father in prison, and he's like, Laurel, I don't know who the Hood is, okay? Legitimately do not know. At the Queen Mansion, Moira and Oliver meet up with their lawyer guy, his name is Ned, and he explains that they no longer have money. The only way to save the Queen fortune is for them to move all of their assets to a new trust because their Queen Consolidated stock is completely watered down. They have basically no money left, okay? And in order to move all of their assets to a new trust, they need all of the queens to sign a paper, including Thea, who is pissed at them right now. You see why this is a problem? Moira also reveals to Oliver at this moment that Isabel Rochev is not just some random bitch, okay? Isabel Rochev, how do I put this lightly? Isabel Rochev, back in the day, was having an affair with none other than Robert Queen. Let that sink in for a minute. While Isabel Rochev was an intern at Queen Consolidated, she was having an affair with the CEO, Robert Queen, who is Oliver Queen's father, okay, and Oliver Queen also slept with Isabel Rochev. So it's getting a little messy in here. And if I could ask Isabel Rochev one question, I would just like to know... She has the details. She has the numbers. Okay, what are the measurements? This whole reveal rattles Oliver to his core, and he is just too stunned to speak. Like, honestly, same. On the island, Anatolia is about to torture Ivo, because Slade also dropped Ivo off when he dropped off Oliver, so now everybody is back on the plane, and Slade is back on the freighter. So Anatoly goes up to Ivo, and he wants to torture Ivo. He wants to pull an eye out of Ivo's socket, okay, because... remember, Ivo wanted one of Anatoly's eyes, so, eye for an eye. Before Anatoly starts torturing him, Ivo reveals that there's a cure for Marakuru. We're at the club, we're at Verdant, okay? Felicity and John just walked up from the Arrow Cave, they're at the bar, the Team Arrow's talking. They can't find Thea, and they can't find Roy, okay? But that doesn't matter because right now they need to find Slade. So they head back down to the Arrow Cave, where Felicity and John just came from, and who's down in the Arrow Cave? Slade Wilson. He's in the Deathstroke costume. He fights all of them, single-handedly beats them all, throws them on their asses, and he just leaves. How'd he get in there? How did he get in there? Did he just materialize? Is there a teleporter? Can Slade Wilson teleport? Because they walked up the steps and then back down the steps. There's no other entrance into the Arrow Cave, as far as I know. Like, how did he get in there? Was he in there the whole time? Has he been hiding in the closets? Like, Slade, how? Sarah has to go to the hospital because in the fight with Slade, she broke her wrist, okay? And Laurel's at the hospital as well because she wants to see if Sarah's okay. And this is when she realizes that Sarah has a lot of scars on her back, just like how Oliver has a lot of scars on his back. And if what Slade said is true and Oliver is the Arrow, then that must mean that Sarah is the masked blonde vigilante. And Laurel really just sleuthed that, okay? That's very girl boss of her to do. But at this point, she does not confront either of them about this. But she knows. Oliver finally finds Thea. They're at Verdant. He goes up to her with the papers. He's like, can you sign this? Okay, we need you to sign this so that we can have money still. Thea takes the paper and she reads it and she's like, Thea Queen, who's that? Thea lets loose, okay? She's pissed and she wants everyone to know it. Thea has an existential crisis and she monologues about it with Oliver. Oliver says, Thea, I'm still your brother. I have to read this verbatim. Like, I am not in the mental headspace to memorize this. No, you're not. You're my half-brother. And know who else was my half-brother? Tommy. Tommy, who I tried to kiss. I tried to kiss my half-brother before my real father killed him. That's how screwed up I am. You know the sad part? I was actually starting to be in a good place. I had the club, I had Roy, I had a brother who wasn't lying to me. And for the first time in my crazy life, everything didn't seem completely and totally messed up. I thought I was gonna be okay. I'm so stupid. Oliver says, you're not stupid. And Thea says, no. What I am is the daughter of not one, but two mass murderers. She's 50 shades of fucked up, Oliver. And honestly, that whole monologue, you know, it had the exact same energy as...
I'm weird. I'm a weirdo.
In the Arrow Cave, Felicity and John, they find out what Slade stole, okay? The skeleton key! Oh, Slade Wilson has the skeleton key, okay? And he's probably gonna use it. They realize that he's probably gonna use the skeleton key to steal a new device to make the Mirakuru with, and they discover that there is such a device. Where? Star Labs. Who has it? Star Labs, alright? Because we mentioned Barry Allen at the start of this episode, so of course, Star Labs. All roads lead back to Barry Allen. Now we flash over to the Starling City division of Star Labs. Who is there? Two absolute randos called Cisco and Caitlin. They're at the Starling City division of Star Labs and they're clearing it out because ever since the particle accelerator exploded, they can't be in Starling City anymore because the people don't want them there, so they have to, like, pack up all the shit, and that's what Cisco and Caitlin are doing.
I hereby christen this building the Bomb.
Nobody says that anymore.
I say it. I define my own cool.
When all of a sudden, Cisco and Caitlin manage to dodge Slade. Okay, so they both survive this encounter. Felicity and John go to talk to Cisco and Caitlin, and they ask what Slade stole, but Cisco and Caitlin, they can't tell them what Slade stole. Cisco mentions Barry, okay, Barry Allen's still in the coma, and Felicity's like, oh, I should go down and see him, and Cisco's like, don't worry, he has plenty of company. Iris is there, like, every day. And Felicity's like, who the fuck is Iris? She says, drat, he's in a coma and he's already moved on. I felt that in my core. In the Arrow Cave, Felicity is able to figure out what Slade stole, okay? It's a giant machine that can do multiple blood transfusions all at once. So they're like, Slade's gonna hook himself up to this machine and transfer his Mirakuru blood to all of his soldiers at once. So while he's hooked up to this machine, he's going to be incredibly weak. So that's when we can strike and that's when we can kill him, okay? And Felicity's like, whenever this machine goes online, it's going to draw a lot of power, so I'll be able to figure out exactly where he is, and I'll call you immediately, and that's the plan. On the island, Ivo agrees to tell Oliver and Sarah about the Mirakuru cure in return for a quick death. He does not want Anatoly to torture him, okay? And Oliver agrees. Ivo reveals that the cure for Mirakuru is in his office on the freighter, and then Sarah grabs a gun. Oliver goes to Queen Consolidated to confront Isabel Roshev, okay? The father fucker.
Father.
She reveals that she wasn't just a meaningless affair to Robert, okay? They were soulmates. They were gonna run away together. He was going to leave everything for her. He was gonna leave the whole family, he was gonna leave the company, they were gonna get on a plane and they were gonna fly away. But he got pulled back at the last second, he dipped on her, he flaked, okay? And she never forgave him for that. And the very next day, he terminated her internship. She also reveals that Robert knew that Thea was not his biological daughter, but he still chose Thea over Isabel anyway. She says he was a fool, not an idiot. Laurel wants to talk to the Arrow. Okay, so she calls him, they meet on a rooftop, and she's about to confront him. She's about to tell him that she knows who he is. Okay, but before she can do that, she gets a call from the prison, and it turns out her dad got in a fight. Laurel goes to talk to her dad in the prison hospital, and she's like, Dad, I know who the Arrow is. And he says, don't tell me. Don't tell me, okay? Because if you tell me, then he becomes a person instead of just a symbol. And I just need him to be a symbol. She leaves, and then she goes to talk to our good friend D.A. Spencer, who she blackmailed to get her job back. This time, she threatens D.A. Spencer again, and she's like, make my dad a cop again, release him from jail. And D.A. Spencer's like, okay, cool, I'll release your dad from prison, and I'll reinstate him as a cop, but this is it, okay? If you try to threaten me ever again, you're fired. And she's like, cool. Oliver goes to talk to Thea. He wants to clear the air, but then he gets a call from Felicity. So he takes the call, and Thea gets mad that he's ignoring her, so she leaves the conversation, and so Oliver goes to deal with the Slade Wilson thing because the giant blood transfusion machine is now online. Oliver goes to the location of the blood transfusion machine, okay? Hooked up to this machine is not Slade, it's Roy, okay? Slade kidnapped Roy, and he's using Roy to do the blood transfusion to like 10 or 15 different guys, okay? It's pretty crazy. Roy is not looking great. At that very moment, Slade and Isabel show up, and they both start fighting Oliver. Isabel Roshev is wearing business casual and heels, no less, okay? She's an absolute fashionista. So a lot happens, and basically, Diggle shoots Isabel, and then Oliver is able to grab Roy, and they, like, grappling hook out of there, and everybody makes it out, and Isabel's been shot. In the Arrow Cave, Oliver reveals that he managed to steal a vial of Maracuru, and they're going to use it to reverse engineer the cure, okay? Because there is a cure. And he finally reveals that to Team Arrow, and Felicity and John are kind of upset that he never mentioned it before. But, you know, it just wasn't important until now, I guess. So the plan is to send the Maracuru to Star Labs, and Cisco and Caitlin are going to cook up the Maracuru cure for them, and then they're going to stab Slade with the cure, and then everyone is going to be happy. On the island, turns out Oliver's the one that shoots Ivo because he doesn't want Sarah to become a killer. Oliver's already a killer, so he might as well just add Ivo to his body count. Meanwhile, Sarah, she's not a killer. Oliver runs into Thea and Moira at the mansion, and he tells them that Robert knew, okay? Robert knew that Thea was not his, okay? And this is a shock to even Moira, because Moira didn't know that Robert knew. And then Oliver's like, he knew that Thea wasn't his, but he chose her, okay? He chose us. This is the family that he chose, okay? But that is not enough to convince Thea that she shouldn't hold this grudge anymore. So she's still mad. Felicity returns to Star Labs and gives Cisco and Caitlin the Maracuru, and she asks them to reverse engineer a cure for it. Laurel goes to talk to Oliver, and she gives him a big hug, and she says that he was so important to her, and she decides not to tell Oliver that she knows his true identity. She is keeping the secret that she knows the secret. The final scene of this episode is Slade Wilson, all bloody and hot, and he injects Isabel Roshev with the Maracuru to save her. At the end of this episode, Oliver made 12 dramatic speeches, 3 smart remarks, 44 dramatic pauses. I laughed at him 10 times, and he killed 1 person. The person with the most smart remarks was Thea. She had 10. Episode 20, Seeing Red. I really don't want to talk about this episode, because it's truly the end of an era, but the show must go on. We start in the Arrow Cave. Roy is there, unconscious, on a table. Felicity and John and Oliver are talking about how weird it is that there hasn't been a news report on Isabel's death. Then Roy wakes up, and he punches John in the face, and he runs up into the club, and Roy disappears. Title screen. Oliver and Sarah are in a hotel room together. They're lying naked side by side, so you know they just finished playing a totally platonic game of checkers or something, and then they both get a call from Felicity, and they have to leave. Moira's at the Queen Mansion. She's giving an interview about her campaign when Thea walks in and disses her in front of the interviewer while he's recording. And Moira's campaign manager goes up to Moira after, and he's like, you need to get her under control, okay? He says, you can't be a mother and a candidate. You've got to pick one. In a flashback, we see Oliver telling Moira Queen, who looks very stunning, okay, she's got long hair in the flashback, and Oliver talking to mommy Moira. He says, Mom, I've got a situation. I got a girl pregnant. And it's not Laurel. Team Arrow still looking for Roy. Where is Roy? He's running around on the street. He runs into Sin, okay? Roy is not in any kind of headspace, okay? His mind is completely blanked out with Mirakuru. All he feels is rage. All he sees is red. When he runs into Sin, she's like, yo, bro, where have you been? And he, like, punches her, and then two random guys on the street intervene, and he attacks both of them and runs off. At Verdant, they are preparing to host some kind of campaign fundraiser thing for Moira. Oliver runs into Thea, and she says, what part of Leave Me Alone did you not understand? We find out that Oliver had asked Diggle to watch Thea, like he's just been stalking her all day. And she's mad about this. She says, I'm gonna go upstairs to the stockroom, and if I get attacked by some shot glasses, I'll call 911. She is so sassy, and I love sassy Thea. Like, I wish Thea had been this fun and interesting for the entirety of the season. Like, Thea, she needed time to cook, and too bad it only took her parents' dramatic backstory to be revealed to her for her to finally come out of the oven. But she's out, and she's hot and fresh. She's hot to go. At the club, Sin goes up to Sarah and she's like, yo, we have a Roy-related situation on our hands here. Moira goes to talk to Sebastian Blood and she says, Sebastian, I'm dropping out of the race, okay? At this campaign fundraiser, I'm going to be announcing to the whole city that I'm dropping out of the race because I can't be a candidate and a mother, and my children need me more than the city does. And Sebastian is very pleased by this. He's like, you're making the right choice, Moira. I have a plan for this city. I am gonna change Starling City, okay? It's gonna be a new day in Starling, is what he says. And Moira, please don't drop out of the race. Moira, you cannot leave Starling City in the hands of Sebastian Blood, okay? His name sounds evil. He cannot run this city. This man is clearly sinister. In another flashback, Moira and Oliver are discussing the whole pregnancy thing, and Oliver is so distraught by this. He says he feels like his whole life is ending. This is so bad for Oliver. Moira's like, Oliver, don't worry. I have this under control. I will fix this for you. Sin calls Sarah and says that she found Roy at the clock tower, so Sarah suits up to go deal with that. Oliver and Sarah show up at the clock tower to fight Roy. Roy ends up breaking Oliver's leg, and Oliver lets out the most blood-curdling emotional scream. That scream was real. Like, I think Stephen Amell was in actual pain. I hope he was okay after that. Then Roy jumps down from the clock tower, he kills a cop, and he runs away. Oliver and Sarah, dressed in full vigilante garb, roll up to some doctor, and they're like, hey, can you set the Arrow's leg for me? Diggle is following Thea around still, even though she doesn't want him to. He's like, hey, maybe you should forgive your mother. She was just trying to look out for you. And Thea's like, thanks for the advice, but shut the fuck up. Like, did I ask? Okay. And then there's a news story on, and we see Roy killing a cop on TV. And Thea's like, oh no. In the Arrow Cave, Oliver is limping around like a dork, and it's very funny, and Sarah wants to kill Roy. She's like, I've had enough of this. Roy has got to be put down. He is a danger to himself and others, and we got to kill him, okay? It's the only option. And Oliver is like, no. Oh my god, Sarah, you can't kill Roy. And Sarah's like, no, I made up my mind. Thea and Sin talk about Roy. Sin finally fills Thea in on everything she knows about Roy, and all Sin knows is that Roy's on some kind of drug that makes him super strong and he's not thinking clearly. So now Thea knows that much at least, and Thea wants to save him, okay? Like, she really cares about Roy, and she wants to try and find him. Roy is hallucinating, and just like Slade was hallucinating Shadow, and maybe still is hallucinating Shadow, Roy is now hallucinating Thea, okay? And in his hallucinations, Thea tells him that he needs to kill her, because this is all her fault. Oliver goes to talk to Moira, and Moira confesses that she's gonna drop out of the mayoral race, and she tells Oliver that she knows that he's the Hood, okay? She knows that he's the vigilante. She knew the entire time, basically, okay, because she slays, and she can read between the lines. She says that she's proud of him for all the good that he's done, and they hug it out. It's a really touching moment, and I really hope nothing bad happens to Moira, because if you recall what happened to Tommy after he found out, nothing good ever happens when you know about Oliver's secret identity. Okay, nothing good ever happens. So I'm just really hoping that Moira manages to beat the odds. I believe in her. I think she can do it. In a flashback, Moira meets with Oliver's pregnant little baby mama in secret. Okay, Oliver does not know about this. And she says, "Hey, unnamed woman who is pregnant with Oliver's child, leave Starling City. Tell Oliver you lost the baby, and I'll give you $2 million. While Moira is giving her mayoral speech, she decides that she's not going to drop out of the race, actually. And then Thea goes up on stage after Moira's done talking. She's trying to draw Roy out, because this thing is being broadcast. Oliver runs into the arrow cave. He shoots himself up with painkillers, because he knows he's about to have to fight Roy. Roy shows up at Verdant. Everybody runs away. He goes straight up to Thea. Diggle tries to fight Roy. Roy grabs a pole and whacks Diggle in the head with it. It was very funny. I did laugh. He starts strangling Thea. Sarah rolls up with a gun, and she's about to shoot Roy, but Sin is also there, and Sin runs in between Sarah and Roy, so Sarah can't shoot Roy. So instead of shooting Roy in the head, Sarah shoots Roy in the leg, and then Roy drops Thea, and then Roy's on the ground, and Roy's like looking up at Sarah, and he's like, kill me, okay? But then all of a sudden, Oliver shows up, and he shoots 3 venom arrows, Tibetan pit viper venom arrows, into Roy. So he's out cold. Sarah then goes up to Oliver after all of this is said and done, and she's like, Oliver, I'm a killer. I can't be with you. I need to leave, okay? Gotta go. She is so dark, and she is so mysterious, and he can't save her. Nobody can save her.
And I don't want to fit in.
So she just needs to leave. And that's what she does. Before she leaves, she goes to talk to Sin one last time, and they have a cute little moment, and Sarah says that she's going to see an old friend. So, we're in the car with Thea, Oliver, and Moira. They're driving back to the mansion, alright? Moira finally puts on her big girl pants, and she's like, I've been lying to the two of you. I need to come clean about something. This is so serious. This is so real. I'm gonna stop telling lies, okay? She is about to reveal something about Malcolm Merlyn when all of a sudden the car flips over and they end up like getting into this terrible car crash. Oh god, oh no. So this car crash, obviously the work of Slade Wilson. So Slade ties up Oliver, Thea, and Moira. They're on the side of the road somewhere. Shit's about to hit the fan real hard, okay? We're all about to be covered in shit. Slade says, Oliver, it's time for you to choose again. And Oliver's like, what the fuck are you talking about, okay? Slade wants Oliver to choose who to kill, Moira or Thea. Oh, no. Can we not do this? Slade, hey. Slade, maybe let's not. Moira puts 2 and 2 together. She realizes that Slade Wilson must have been on the island with Oliver, and then Slade keeps screaming at Oliver to choose. Oliver's like, no, pick me, okay? Just kill me. Let them both live. Just kill me. Just end this, Slade. And Slade's like, no. You're not understanding how this game is being played. Oliver refuses to choose between Moira and Thea, so Moira Queen stands up, and she says, there's only one way this night can end. Let both of my children live. Slade says, you possess true courage. It's a pity you did not pass that down to your son. And then he stabs her with a sword. I am so upset right now. Rest in peace, Moira Queen. The queen has fallen. Before Slade leaves, he mentions that one more person has to die for this to end. Very vague and cryptic, thank you, Slade Wilson. We get the final flashback to the Oliver Queen baby pregnancy drama. Moira goes up to Oliver. Oliver just got off the phone with her unnamed baby mama, and he tells Moira that she said she lost the baby. And Moira's like, oh my god, that is so sad. And Oliver's like, this is actually like a really great blessing in disguise, okay? Because my life is no longer ruined, okay? It must be so traumatic for her, but like, this is a win for me, Oliver Queen. I dodged this baby. Fuck yeah. And Moira's like, son, I'm so happy for you. She says that she will always be with him. She will always be there to help him out. And then the final scene of this episode is Moira Queen's fresh corpse rotting on the ground, while Oliver and Thea sob over it. And now, a tribute to Moira Queen.
I'm not going to tell my son anything, and neither are you. We all have to keep secrets.
Thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not cheat, thou shalt not get caught, or you'll end up just like me. Oh, karma's a bitch. I should've known better. If I had a wish, I would've never left around.
I had to change the music out because I'm gonna get copyright strikes, so I made a cover. It's not my best work. At the end of this episode, Oliver made 13 dramatic speeches, 7 smart remarks, 42 dramatic pauses, and I laughed at him 6 times, okay? Moira Queen was the winner with the most dramatic pauses. She had 50, as she should. I mean, this was her death episode. I would assume that she would have the most dramatic pauses. The person with the most smart remarks was Thea. Actually, no. It was Sarah. Sarah had 11 smart remarks and Thea had 10 smart remarks. Moira had 10 dramatic speeches, which is a lot. I think it's the most she's ever had. The funniest character this episode was Thea. I laughed at her 10 times. So that's the end of that. Decided to channel my inner Batman villain today. Episode 21, City of Blood. This episode starts with a very insane back and forth between Sebastian Blood's mayoral inauguration and Moira's literal funeral. Apparently, no one has seen Oliver. Oliver has mysteriously disappeared. He dipped. No one can find him. He didn't even show up to his own mother's funeral. How sad is that? Also at the funeral, Isabel Roshev is there. She is in fact not dead, and now she's walking around, okay? Also at the funeral, Felicity and Diggle are having a conversation in which Felicity describes Moira as diabolical. She called this woman diabolical at her own funeral. Then we get a scene after the funeral between Walter and Thea, where Walter is trying to give, comfort in her time of need. But Thea is pissed because this whole thing is Oliver's fault, okay? And she's right. It is. Thea blames Oliver for Moira's death because he should have told them about Slade. We're on the island, and the gang, their plan is to get onto the submarine and use the submarine to get onto the freighter. So, the people that we're following now, Oliver, Sarah, Anatoly, and a new character called Peter. Okay, realistically, Peter has kind of been there in the background throughout this whole thing with Hendrik and the bomb and stuff. But now Peter is at the forefront. Laurel is back on her shit. She goes to the police station. She says, Dad, I think Sebastian Blood is actually sus. I think Sebastian Blood is connected to Slade Wilson because the only reason that Sebastian is the mayor is because Moira's dead, okay? Because didn't mention this, Moira was winning in the polls. Now that she's literally dead, everybody had to vote for Sebastian. And that's the only reason that he's mayor. And Laurel is connecting these dots. Where's the arrow? Slade knows that. Slade is probably in cahoots with Sebastian Blood. So she asks her dad to look into it, and he agrees. Sebastian gets a call from Slade Wilson, and he says, get to work. Get to work. Nope, can't do it. I can't do the voice. Realistically, I never could. But I lost it. Maybe this'll help. That's rancid, okay? I'm not a fan of green apple, but it's kind of on brand, so that's why, the green. Do you get the theme? Do you get it? Get to work. Nope. In the Arrow Cave, we're with Felicity and John. Okay, they have Roy. He is put under, like he's unconscious on the table. They are keeping him subdued using pit viper venom. Felicity is like, oh my god, we are running out of snake venom. We can't keep Roy under forever. We need to find Oliver, okay? Because Oliver needs to fix this shit. Where did he go? Felicity can't find him. Okay? She's like, if only there was somebody out there who could track down Oliver. And Diggle is like... So Felicity and John Diggle go to Argus to talk to Amanda Waller. Title screen. At Argus, Amanda Waller is like, hey, did you guys try facial recognition? And Felicity's getting pissed. She's like, of course I fucking tried facial recognition. Like, leave it to Felicity to sass Amanda Waller. Isabel strolls up to Verdant and she finds Thea and she's like, hey Thea, this club is property of Queen Consolidated. Okay, so it's mine, so you're being evicted. Laurel goes to see Sebastian at his mayor office. She bugged his computer, and then she's having freaky cop nerd Kelton. Y'all remember Kelton? I put him on the board. So Kelton hacks into Sebastian Blood's computer, and do you know what they find on there? They find a press release, okay, about Moira's death. But you know what's sus about it? Is that he wrote the press release before Moira died, implying that he knew that Moira was going to die before it happened, implying that he's working with Slade Wilson, implying that Laurel is actually the greatest detective of all time. I think Laurel might be Batman. Bruce Wayne who? Amanda Waller is able to find Oliver and she tells Diggle and Felicity where to go. Back on the island, Anatoly, he's done some assessing of the submarine and he's like, yeah, I can get it running, but we're stuck, okay? We need to get unstuck. And Oliver's like, there's torpedoes on this thing, right? Can't we just blast the torpedo and then that'll like push us free? And then Anatoly's like, yeah, that'll work. But there's a catch. The torpedoes need to be manually operated, meaning that one of the four of them is gonna have to get in the torpedo and kill themselves. Felicity and John find Oliver. He's at some secondary arrow cave location that he didn't tell anyone about because why would he? So Oliver's like, Felicity, John, all that I can do now is turn myself over to Slade, okay? Because he said one more person needs to die. That person is obviously me. So I'm just going to turn myself into Slade. Felicity and John are like, no, you're not. That's the dumbest idea you've ever had. And Oliver's like, you can't change my mind. I made up my mind. I'm turning myself in because the essence of heroism is to die so that others can live. I think Oliver might take that quote a little bit too far. Walter is trying to convince Thea not to leave Starling City because Thea wants to leave. Okay, she's done. Moira's dead. She doesn't have the club anymore. Roy fucking ran off on her. She's alone as alone gets, and she's like, I'm leaving. And Oliver shows up, and he's like, I think that's a great idea, actually. And then Oliver says goodbye to Thea in the most dramatical. And then Oliver says goodbye to Thea in the most dramatic way he possibly can, as if he will never see her again, perhaps. And Thea doesn't think that's weird. On the submarine, you know, the gang torpedo dilemma, Peter volunteers himself to get into the submarine because Ivo once told him that the essence of heroism is to die so that others can live. That means that Oliver quoted Anthony Ivo earlier. Why are we doing that? Okay, why? There are so many better people to quote. Peter decides to volunteer himself to get into the torpedo because he's gonna die anyway because Ivo gave him radiation poisoning and now he has cancer and he's going to die anyhow, so might as well die in a heroic manner, right? You know? Oliver goes to confront Slade and let Slade kill him, but Diggle stops him, okay? Diggle literally trank darts Oliver. Oliver wakes up, he's in the arrow cave with Felicity and Diggle and who else? Laurel. Laurel Lance is in the arrow cave, okay? She's like, Oliver, secret's out, cat's out of the bag, okay? You can't kill yourself. Can't do that, not an option, okay? You cannot turn yourself over to Slade. The city needs you, I need you need to fight, okay? I believe in you. She gives him the pep talk of the century. And then she also reveals to Oliver that Sebastian Blood is the man in the skull mask, okay? Because Oliver didn't know that. On the island, back in the past, Peter hops in the torpedo and he blasts himself, okay? Dead. Rip Peter. Oliver goes to dinner with Sebastian Blood, okay? He's like, hey, Sebastian, I know you're the man in the skull mask. I know you're working for Slade Wilson, and it's not a good idea, okay? Working with Slade Wilson probably gonna end badly for you. And Sebastian's like, I got what I wanted. He promised me the city, and I have the city, okay? I heard Slade made you a promise, too. Sebastian trying to threaten Oliver right now. Like, Sebastian Blood is like so weak. Like, out of all of the Arrow villains to ever exist, this man is the weakest one. Like, he's not scary, he's not intimidating, and low tier, F tier. Oliver, Felicity, and John found out where Slade was keeping his army somehow, so they decide to go there. They're in the sewers, okay? The plan is they're gonna topple a building on top of Slade's entire Marakuru army, which should kill all of them, which should stop Slade from taking over the city. On the way to set up this plan, Oliver gets attacked by one of Slade's Mirakuru soldiers. This guy is kicking his ass, as usual, okay? Oliver is still not very good at fighting these Mirakuru guys. But fortunately for him, Laurel Lance was following him. Laurel, distracts the soldier, and she's able to save Oliver. Diggle is about to blow the building on the army when all of a sudden, who shows up? Isabel Rochev, and she's dressed in a Deathstroke mask, okay? And she looks hot. I'm obsessed with Isabel Rochev, okay? Sebastian Blood is an F tier Arrow villain. Isabel Rochev is A tier, okay? Maybe S tier. She might be up there in the same league with Malcolm Merlin. She might be up there. I'm obsessed with her. Everywhere else in Starling City, it is 9 o'clock. What happens at 9 o'clock? The army awakens. Okay, the Deathstroke army is gonna take over the city at 9 o'clock. So these dudes start killing people left, right, and center all over the city. At the police station, one of these Mirakuru soldiers kills a lot of police officers and injures Lance pretty badly. Among the deaths at the police station is Kelton. No, not Kelton, the creepy cop hacker. RIP. Thea is at the train station. Remember, she's trying to leave Starling City, and that's not happening anymore because the Deathstrokes are also at the train station. Back with Oliver and Laurel, they get cornered, and Oliver detonates some kind of charge, and basically he and Laurel get stuck in a corner under some rubble. Back on the island, Anatoly and Oliver managed to get the submarine moving. Didn't mention this, Sarah is not on the submarine. Oliver told her to go back to the shore and get clear in case something went wrong. So Anatoly and Oliver are on the sub is moving, okay? When all of a sudden, Sarah radios, and she's like, I need help. This episode ends with the Slade Mirakuru Deathstroke army running rampant through the city. It's total chaos. We got some Felicity lore this episode, okay? Her mother is a cocktail waitress in Vegas. At the end of this episode, Oliver made 10 dramatic speeches, 0 smart remarks, 69 dramatic pauses. Nice. And I laughed at him 7 times. Sebastian Blood had 43 dramatic pauses, which is really high, and Laurel also had a lot of dramatic pauses. She had 34. Sassiest character this episode was Felicity. She had 5 smart remarks. Thea had 4. Episode 22, Streets of Fire. Isabel is fighting Diggle, okay, and she is winning, okay, hashtag winning, hashtag girl boss, hashtag go off bestie.
I have been aching to put a bullet in her smug little face ever since the day.
She runs over Isabel Rochev, and that is favorite character behavior. Felicity Smoke is the favorite character of season 2, okay, she gets the crown.
Oh, I really thought the airbags were gonna go off.
Meanwhile, we have this really stupid little side plot. Oliver and Laurel have gotten separated by the rubble, okay? Oliver's on one side, Laurel's on the other side. Guess who's got the bow and arrow? Laurel. It's not looking good for Starling City. There are Mirakuru soldiers everywhere, okay? Sebastian gets on the phone with the governor, and he's like, oh my god, don't call in the National Guard. Our police officers can handle this. D.A. Spencer overhears this, and she's like, I'm sorry, what? What do you mean? Our police officers can clearly not handle this. You better call in that guard. And Sebastian's like, D.A. Spencer, just trust me. Oliver and Laurel manage to get free. Laurel does this by shooting an explosive arrow at the rubble. Back on the island, Oliver and Anatoly have a new plan, okay? Sarah is on the Amazo with Slade. Oliver's plan, he's going to swim onto the Amazo to try and save Sarah, and then he's gonna swim back to the submarine, okay? And if Oliver is not back on the submarine in 1 hour, Anatoly is going to use one of the torpedoes to blow up the entire ship. It's finally happening, guys, alright? So, brace yourselves. We're at the train station with the queen, okay? She was trying to flee Starling City. Now she can't, okay? She's trapped and she's running for her life. There are madmen everywhere, okay? One of these Mirakuru guys gets all up in Thea's face and starts choking her, strangling her. She's fighting for her life, and it might be the end of her life, actually, you know? But it's not, okay? She survives. How? The Mirakuru guy gets shot in the arm by an arrow. He drops Thea, okay, looks at his arm and the arrow in it, and he's like, ow, a minor inconvenience. And he pulls the arrow out of his arm. He still has it in his hand. He's looking at it. And then he looks over to see who shot him. And there's some guy dressed in League of Assassins attire with a fucking bow and arrow. And he's like, who the hell are you? And then the arrow that's in his hand explodes, and the Marakuru guy just kind of falls on the ground. And then the guy who shot him pulls his hood off and says, I'm her father. Thea, not excited about this. Title screen. Felicity, John, and Oliver regroup. Okay, Felicity lets the class know that the Marakuru cure is on the way from Star Labs to Starling City. Okay, so that's good. Not so great, actually, because the guy who was bringing the cure into the city got into a car crash. His legs are broken, and he needs some help. So now it's a race to see who can get to the cure first. Oliver or Slade. Back on the island on the submarine before Oliver swims away, he and Anatoly have a super bro moment where Anatoly tells Oliver that he's got a friend for life. At the police station, things are not looking good. Frank goes up to Quentin and he's like, we need the vigilantes, alright, make the call. And Lance is like, done. And also, Frank gives Lance his detective shield back. So, Quentin and Lance is no longer arrested. I don't know why this is still on the board. So Lance is no longer a cop. Now he is a detective again. Yay! Sarah goes to save Laurel, and Laurel reveals to Sarah that she knows her true identity. At the mayor's office, a soldier comes in. One of Slade's soldiers comes in. He kills D.A. Spencer. Rip D.A. Spencer, okay? And then Sebastian is so flabbergasted by this. He's like, you just killed, like, everyone in my office. Like, why would you do that? And the soldier is like, I don't take orders from you. Team Arrow is trying to get the cure, but they end up getting run off the road by some of Slade's guys. Felicity gets knocked unconscious, so Oliver and Diggle have to carry her back to the Arrow Cave and back to safety, so Slade ends up getting the cure. We're back at the train station with everyone's favorite functional family. Thea is running for her life, okay? She's not running from Slade's little army, she's running from Malcolm Merlin, okay? He's like, Thea, stop running, let me help you. She's like, no, I don't want to hear it from you. You're a murderer and a psychopath and a terrorist, okay? So she's not vibing with Malcolm Merlin at this moment. And he's like, yeah, maybe so. Maybe you're right. But I think you need my protection right now. He's like very insistent that he just wants to get her to safety. And I'm like, Thea, he makes some good points. Sebastian Blood goes to confront Slade Wilson, and he's like, I did not sign up for this, okay? Why are you killing everyone? Like, I just wanted to be the mayor of a peaceful city. I didn't know you were gonna come in here and kill everyone. And Slade is like, what do you mean you didn't know? Like, this was the plan from day one. Laurel and Sarah have another sister moment where Sarah is like, I'm irredeemable. I am so dark and irredeemable, and I am the worst person. And Laurel is like, Sarah, no, you're not. They're so sister. Back on the island, Oliver manages to get to the freighter. He frees Sarah from whatever cage Slade put her in, and then the two of them head to Ivo's office to find the cure, because they want to get the cure and use it on Slade. At the clock tower, Team Arrow discusses their absolute latest failure. Okay, and Felicity's like, the guys at Star Lab can't make another cure. That was all they had. We don't have another Marakuru sample to send them, and even if we did, they don't have enough time to make another cure. Like, we're cooked. Then, Sarah runs into a burning building to save a child, so that's very heroic and redeemable of her. At the train station, Thea is not feeling this, okay? She really wants Malcolm to get the fuck out of here, okay? She is not vibing with him. She does not want to be associated with this man. And then another Marakuru soldier shows up. Malcolm gets in a fight with the guy, and then both of them end up on the ground. Sebastian calls Oliver, and he says, you were right, Oliver. Slade is a terrible person, and I should not have joined him. Okay, and Oliver's like, yeah, well, it's too late for that now. And Sebastian's like, it's never too late to do the right thing, Oliver. I have the cure, and I want to give it to you. Sebastian monologues for a little bit before he gives Oliver the cure, and then Oliver takes the cure back to Roy. Something about Sebastian Blood is he is convinced that after all of the dust settles, he's still going to be the mayor. So that's very Delulu. I hate this guy. Lucky for me, Isabel Rosev comes to the rescue, and she murders Sebastian. Dead. Team Arrow has the cure, and they're talking about testing it on Roy, but Oliver's like, I don't want to test it on Roy, like, what if it kills him? You know, we don't want that. Roy is too hot to die. Back in the past, on the freighter, Slade finds Sarah and Oliver. Back in the present, there are army helicopters flying into Starling City, and they're blocking all of the exits to the city, okay? And Frank is like, I know those look like military helicopters, but I don't think that's the actual military. Well, then who the fuck else could it be, Frank? Oliver decides not to test the cure on Roy, okay? There's gotta be another way. And then he calls Amanda Waller, because he's like, hey, Amanda, I know those fuck-ass helicopters are yours, okay? Get them out of here. You're condemning the whole city to die. You're blocking all of these innocent citizens in. And Amanda's like, yeah, but I'm also blocking in the soldiers, okay? Because if these Mirakuru motherfuckers get out of Starling City and into the world, then we have an even bigger problem on our hands. So I'm gonna blow up the whole fucking city. Try and stop me. And Amanda's like, you have until dawn. After this phone call, Oliver's like, fuck it, and he stabs Roy with the cure. We're back at the train station. Malcolm gets up, okay, he's not dead, he survived this fight with the Mirakuru guy. Thea finds a gun on the ground, she picks up the gun and points it at Malcolm, okay? Malcolm is very amused by this, and he says, if you're gonna use that, you should click the safety off. And Thea immediately clicks the safety off, like she didn't hesitate. And if I was Malcolm, I'd be a little bit worried. I'd be just a teeny little bit worried. Starts monologuing. This is the craziest Malcolm Merlyn monologue that we've had this far. And we've had a lot of crazy Malcolm Merlyn monologues. I can see it in your eyes. My eyes.
My eyes. They're just like mine.
I lost my name. My wife.
Tommy.
Shut up!
And I agree with her because, like, hey, Malcolm, remind me again how Tommy died. Well, I would love to know Malcolm Merlyn's side of that story. Like, what does he think happened to Tommy? He definitely overstepped there a little bit. But anyway, Thea tells him to shut up. Malcolm Merlyn does not shut up. He keeps going. He's like, you lost everyone, but Thea, you haven't lost me.
You still have...
He gets interrupted by not one, but 2 bullets. And I'm just like, yes, finally. Finally, Thea Queen does something right. Finally, Thea grabs the narrative by the balls. She said, shut up, he didn't listen. Respect boundaries. So go off, Thea. Honestly, if Thea Queen had acted like that for the entire show, she would have the Girl Boss Award. It's just too bad that it took the second to last episode for her to finally, like, do something. But I'm glad she did, okay? Because this is a turning point for her. At the end of episode 22, Oliver made 10 dramatic speeches, 2 smart remarks, 35 dramatic pauses, and I laughed at him 3 times. Oliver actually had the most of everything except smart remarks. Felicity had 4 smart remarks. Sebastian Blood had 32 dramatic pauses. Episode 23, Unthinkable. Shut up, I'm wearing the mask, okay? It's the final episode, I'm wearing it. 3D printed arrow mask, okay? Thank you to Hannah for the arrow mask. We open on the clock tower, okay? Everybody's here, basically, and the cure, not working. Roy has still not woken up. We're not really sure what's going on, but oh no, the goons are here, okay? The soldiers are here. So, just all of a sudden, Roy wakes up, okay? And he tries to punch one of them. When Roy goes to punch the guy, it doesn't do anything. Like, it's just a weak-ass punch. Roy is cured from Mirakuru. So you think all hope might be lost, but the gang does get saved by a Argus chopper. Who is in the Argus chopper? Lila Michaels, of course. She shoots a rocket launcher. Shoots a rocket at the clock tower, kills the goons in there. Lila is now fully against Amanda Waller, and she is working with Team Arrow to save the city. Title screen. We're in the Arrow Cave. The Arrow Cave is in shambles. Okay, it's been destroyed. The gang is looking for injection arrows, and the plan is to load up the injection arrows with the cure and then shoot the cure at all of the Mirakuru soldiers. Let's check back in on Thea, because I'm afraid we have some unfinished business going on here. So at the train station, Thea has just shot her father. She's kind of distraught about this. She's like, what a crazy day I've had. The craziness is not finished yet, because Malcolm not dead. Okay, man stands up. And Thea is like, oh god, oh what the fuck. Malcolm stands up, walks over to Thea, and just goes, it's called Kevlar.
It's called Kevlar.
Noob. Oh my god, get owned by Kevlar. Malcolm Merlin will never die. Like, that's just one thing about Malcolm. If he wants to die, he will go out on his own volition. Nobody else can kill this man. The only person who can kill Malcolm Merlin is Malcolm Merlin, and let's just get that straight right out the bat. So Malcolm is like, Thea, funny story.
A year ago, your brother held a gun to my face as well.
But he was too much of a puss to pull the trigger. Not like you, though. You're different.
You are made of iron. You are truly my daughter, and I could not be more proud.
You are built so different, Thea. And he says that he's proud of her for shooting him. Oh my god. That relatable moment when your psycho dad tells you that he's proud of you for shooting him. We're in the Arrow Cave. Oliver, Felicity, Diggle, and Roy are chatting when all of a sudden Sarah and Nyssa show up with about 7 other League soldiers, okay? Sarah made a deal with Nyssa, okay? She is gonna go back to the League in return for them helping her here. We flash back to the train station with Thea and Malcolm. She's still trying to dodge this guy. He will not leave her alone.
Dangerous out there.
Better than here with my psycho villain dad.
Okay, if anything, now that she shot him, Malcolm is even farther up her butt crack. Thea gets a call from Roy, and when she hangs up the phone, Malcolm's like, was that Roy? And she's like, what the fuck do you know about Roy? And Malcolm knows everything about her, because of course he was stalking her this whole time. Like, did you really think Malcolm Merlin didn't know about Roy Harper? Did you really think Malcolm Merlin hasn't been watching her for this entire show? Everything we know about Thea, he also knows. And he's like, listen, Roy Harper is just like all of the other boys, okay? He's just like all of the other people who have lied to you.
He's no different, Thea. No different from your mother or Oliver.
So now Thea is going to try and find Roy. That's the new plan. Malcolm's like, whatever. When you realize that Roy's a fucking loser, you'll come back to me. We have a scene where Oliver goes to Queen Consolidated with Nyssa and the other League fighters. They shoot the cure into a bunch of Mirakuru guys. While they're at Queen Consolidated, Nyssa Al Ghul fucking kills Isabel Roshev. Now, how fucking dare you? She was so slay. Absolute S-tier Arrow villain. Rest in peace. On the freighter, Slade is about to fucking murder Oliver when Anatoly's like, time to blow up the freighter, I guess, because Oliver was supposed to come back within an hour. It's actually been 2 hours. Anatoly's like, well, fuck. So he just launches the torpedo at the freighter. Amanda Waller's missile inbound. Laurel Lance has been taken by the Mirakuru soldiers. Okay, she got attacked, she got taken. Lance comes to find Oliver. I mean, the Arrow, okay, because Lance still doesn't know that Oliver is the Arrow, even though most of the other main characters do. So Lance is like, hey, Hood, they kidnapped Laurel, we gotta get this bitch. And the Hood is like, listen, we've got bigger problems on our hands right now, okay? We will save Laurel, but first we need to save the city. Felicity goes up to Oliver and she's like, we can't outthink Slade, we can't outmaneuver Slade, but we need to trick him somehow. Like, we need to make Slade think that he has outthought us, okay? And Oliver's like, let me marinate on that one. Thea meets up with Roy at Roy's little trailer. Roy is like, listen, Thea, we are gonna pack our bags, we are gonna run away together, we are gonna start a new life somewhere else, but there is one thing I need to do first, okay? Do you trust me? And Thea says, I trust you. And Roy is like, great. And he leaves. Oliver and Felicity take some random ass pit stop to the Queen Mansion, and Felicity's confused. She's like, Oliver, what the fuck are we doing here?
I need you to be safe.
Well, I don't want to be safe. I want to be with you. And the others unsafe.
I can't let that happen.
Oliver's like, Felicity, Slade got the wrong woman, okay? He took Laurel because he thinks that Laurel is the woman I love, but he was wrong. It was you. You're the woman I love, Felicity.
I love you.
It's finally happening. Felicity is real, guys. So, there's a battle waging, right? So, we're in the train tunnels, and they're shooting the cure at the Mirakuru guys, and meanwhile at Argus, Diggle and Lila free the Suicide Squad, and then the Suicide Squad is gonna go and corner Amanda Waller, because we need to stop this missile. Back on the freighter, the torpedo hits the freighter, okay? Everyone gets knocked around. Sarah gets pulled under the water just like she did when the Gambit went down. That's like double traumatic. Oliver starts fighting Slade. Thea's in the trailer. She's packing up. And what does she find in one of Roy's drawers? a bow and arrow. Oh my god, he's working with the vigilante? He was working with the vigilante this whole time, but he told her that he wasn't. He really is just like all the other people in her life who are lying to her. Oh my god, does that mean Malcolm Merlyn was right? Yes. At Argus, John, Lila, and the Suicide Squad barge in. They surround Amanda Waller and they demand that she stop the drone. She's like, Lila, how are you going to explain to your baby this treasonous act? And they're all like, what? And Amanda's like, oh my god, Diggle, you didn't know? You're gonna be a father! Congratulations, because Lila Michaels is pregnant. She's pregnant. Nobody says that anymore. Slade calls Oliver, and he's like, I can't do it. I have Felicity. Sound like I've got like a lawnmower stuck in my throat. Slade is like, hey, Oliver, I got Felicity. You thought you could outsmart me? I got Felicity. Oliver goes to meet with Slade. Slade has both Laurel and Felicity. Slade is like, I'm gonna kill Felicity so that you know how I felt after you killed Shadow. And Oliver's like, you're missing the fucking point here. And then Felicity stabs Slade Wilson with the Marakuru cure because Oliver knew that there were cameras at the Queen Mansion. So he purposefully brought Felicity back there, purposefully made this big declaration of love in front of the cameras. He gave Felicity the cure secretly. So this whole thing was a setup. So Felicity, not real, actually. This is the worst day of my life. We see the final battle between Oliver and Slade playing out in the present and the past, side by side. They mirror each other, okay? In the past, we already know what happens. Slade gets hit in the head with a falling beam, because the freighter has just been hit by a torpedo, so it's falling apart. So Slade gets hit in the head with a beam, and Oliver needs to make the choice whether to kill Slade or to give him the cure. And we already know that Oliver chooses to stab Slade in the eye, killing him. I mean, we know he's actually not dead, but like Oliver thinks he killed him, so rip Slade. In the present, Oliver and Slade have been fighting for so long that both of them are so fucking tired, and then Oliver ties up Slade, and he calls Amanda Waller and says that it's over, and so she calls off the missile. Sarah says goodbye to Lance and Laurel, and she leaves to go back to the League of Assassins. Before she goes, she gives Laurel her black leather jacket. Keep that in your mind, Palace. As soon as she leaves, what happens? Detective Lance falls on the ground. He is having some kind of heart attack. It's not looking good for him. Roy gets back to his little trailer, and he finds a letter from Thea. What does it say? It says she's leaving. Don't try to find her because even she doesn't know where she's going. What is Thea doing? Thea is getting in the back of a car with Malcolm fucking Merlyn. Yeah. Oliver locks up Slade Wilson on an Argus prison that's on Lian-Yu. So Slade Wilson is locked up in jail on Lian-Yu. Bam, jail. They're on Lian-Yu, and Oliver is talking to Diggle and Felicity, and Felicity's like, that was really crazy. Really crazy how you lied about loving me. That was really crazy. That was totally just a lie, and that was really crazy that you did that. And Oliver's like, yeah, that was really crazy. We should go home. And so they're just avoiding the topic. How about let's talk about this, Oliver? How about you stop dodging your fucking feelings, and how about you just admit that you're in love with Felicity? How about we don't do this will they, won't they shit, and how about they just do? How about that? Have we ever considered? Final scene of season 2 is the aftermath of the freighter crash. Oliver wakes up in some strange ass room. He has no idea where he is. We learn that Oliver is in Hong Kong with who? Amanda Waller. She's everywhere. What is this bitch doing in Hong Kong with Oliver Queen 5 years ago? That's what I want to know. Oop, but we won't get to know until season 3, of course, so subscribe if you'd like to know what the hell Amanda Waller is doing in Hong Kong with Oliver Queen at the end of the freighter battle. At the end of the season finale, Oliver gave 11 dramatic speeches, 5 smart remarks, 58 dramatic pauses. I did not laugh at him this time, but he killed one person. Slade Wilson, I'm sure you're curious, gave 7 dramatic speeches, 4 smart remarks, and 40 dramatic pauses. I did laugh at Slade 3 times. The funniest character was Thea. I got a kick out of her. I laughed at her 6 times. It's over. Thank you for watching. If you made it all the way here, hope you had a good time. I had a good time. The next video that I'm going to be making is not going to be an Arrow video. It's going to be a Flash video because my goal is to go through the entire Arrowverse in order, okay? So the next step in the order is Flash season 1, all right? You know, I was pretending Barry Allen wasn't an important character. I can't pretend anymore because he is the Flash. So, oh my god, was that a spoiler? Hopefully the next time you see me, it will be a full 5-hour long video. Like, my goal is to save up enough money that I can buy either a better phone or a laptop or something so that I'll have more storage and the ability to edit an entire 5-hour long video all at once, because I don't like splitting them into parts. I know that my videos would get so much more views if it was just all in one big video. So my goal is to save up some money and buy a nice laptop that I can edit a 5-hour long video on. Once everything's uploaded, I have to delete all those videos off my phone and then start work on the next part. Okay, I cannot have more than like an hour and a half worth of video on my phone at one time because I don't have enough storage, okay? And that sucks. Not making any promises because I don't know. It's also gonna probably be a while before I get the Flash video done because I haven't even started watching it yet, and I work a very intense summer job. Like, the reason why these videos came out so fast is because I was unemployed and had absolutely nothing else to do. But now that I am employed, it's gonna be a little while before the Flash recap comes out, but subscribe because it is coming. Okay, The Flash is next, and then after Flash season 1, we will dive right back into Arrow season 3. My goal is to do the whole Arrowverse. I really want to at least talk about the Crisis on Earth X crossover, because that lives rent-free in my head. And I also really want to talk about Legends of Tomorrow, because I'm kind of obsessed with Legends of Tomorrow. And in order to talk about Legends of Tomorrow, like, you need to know what's going on with the Flash and Arrow. Subscribe for that. Stay tuned for the Flash. Thank you for watching. Do appreciate that. Honestly, let's be so for real. I appreciate you. Big thanks to Hannah, my girl, not only for the awesome mask, she also printed me out a T-sphere. Can you believe that? If you don't know what a T-sphere is, subscribe because we'll get there. Yeah. And also, big shout out to me for doing all of this. Like, the murder board looked so good this season. Kind of obsessed. This is my best work, and it's only going to get better, guys. Dude, the murder board for the Flash is gonna be even better than this one, so you better subscribe. Bye-bye!
Easy there, Tiger.